At Tesla, we had to reinvent the way that we built the car. And we couldn't afford and we didn't have the means to approach that the way every other car maker could. We didn't have a factory in the beginning. So when we designed the Model S and the Model X, we had to start from a clean sheet of paper and architect those cars around being electric. That was a really critical thing that made them very different and made the way that they were built different. And it's allowed us to scale and build out the factory and the production capability quite differently than what big automakers do today. Well, the biggest single thing that made this new generation of electric vehicles possible was the advanced lithium-ion battery. Electric cars have been around for 100 years, but only in the last 15 to 20 years have they finally been capable of the performance and acceleration and range that customers demand and expect. So it was actually that advance that came out of consumer electronics for cell phones and laptop computers that was the invention that made modern electric cars possible. Well, electric cars definitely still need energy. They consume electricity as their fuel, and it is very important where that electricity comes from. If it's coming from a coal-burning power plant, we've still reduced emissions overall and we've reduced energy use, but it's missing a big opportunity. The end goal for us is to link electric vehicles with renewable energy generation, solar, wind, or even just zero CO2 generation, maybe other forms like geothermal. At Tesla, we've tried very hard to introduce those energy options to our customers by doing things like offering residential solar to people that might buy an electric car. And in many cases, we see our customers very excited and very eager to find renewable energy generation sources, whether it's with their local utility or directly installing it themselves. And that really is the ultimate way to have a zero carbon transportation system. Lithium-ion batteries have a broad application across many markets today. Electric cars and, of course, consumer electronics are where this revolution is starting. But already we're seeing that spread into trucking and freight, into mass transit with buses, also into airplanes. And there's a number of new startup companies pursuing electric aviation of all different sorts. Ultimately, my feeling is that we're going to see lithium-ion batteries and electrification spread across all modes of transportation and allow for decarbonization of all of those same modes as it happens. My personal feeling is that the energy revolution that's underway, from fossil energy to renewable and sustainable energy, is probably one of the biggest business opportunities of the century as well. This is a chance to reinvent the entire infrastructure in the way that we know it today. Ultimately, I am an optimist, and I do believe that we will meet the Paris agreements. I think the timing is going to be incredibly difficult. I think it's also challenging because ultimately we need to get to zero CO2 emissions. All of the agreements today discuss reductions and rollbacks to certain periods in the past, but getting to zero CO2 is something that still is not yet a widely understood or accepted goal, and ultimately that's where we need to go.